Yeah. Guys, I have kicked in recording, so that you know.
All right.
So we are almost at the time. Oops, my timer. I need to stop it. Yep, we are right on time. Let's see. Hey, who all have joined us? Hey, Eva, welcome. Hi, Haitham. Hey, Harpreet. Hey, guys, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let's make it interactive and we'll introduce ourselves here. But let's introduce each other in the chat and let's learn from and meet more people here. So, the aim of this meetup is to also know more of us. Um, hey, Harpreet. Hi. Past two parts. This is the first time I joined the meetup. Well, I have it in the YouTube for first the second part, where I have also recapped the first part. I'll share this along with today's recording to all of us. So yeah, we'll be sharing the previous one and the current one, all of them. Haitham. Hi, Mark. Hey, Martina. Hi, Mustafa. Hey, Regina. Hi, Pablo.
Hello, how's it going?
Thank you, man. How
Okay.
about you?
All good, thanks.
Hey, Tibal. Hi, Victor.
Hi,
Hey,
evening.
hey, Mark. Hey, Yanhua. We'll start in just 1 minute. I think we are 28 in number. We'll keep on growing as it goes. That's why we are recording our session. Um, as we don't want to take a lot of time introducing and just discussing about metaphors, let's just jump into the real session, real cool part of this meetup group, where we talk about hands-on stuff. We do hands-on stuff, and we have experts in the room who have done these things, who have been doing this very frequently. So we have our expert today here in the room, Mr. Anthony Wan Yuki, and I'd like to give the floor to Anthony and take us to the third episode of this whole series, which I will share also into a first and second episode after this call. So yes, to you, Mr. Anthony.
Thank you, Bishas. And mic check, can everyone hear me okay?
I hear you.
All right, fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so as Bishwas has mentioned, my name is Anthony Wanyugi. I know it's a mouthful to say. I'm African from East Africa, a place called Kenya. If anyone of you has visited that side, I'd recommend for it to be a bucket list, one of the items in your bucket list to visit Kenya just to see the wildlife, right? Shameless plug for my country there. But let me kick us off and let me know if you're able to see my slides from the start. And I'm not able to see the screen, so a shout would be nice. All good? All right. So I'd assume you're able to see my slide. Okay.
Oh,
No?
I don't see the slide. Do you see? Anyone can confirm?
No,
No, I cannot see any slide.
I also don't.
Okay. All right. Let's do this again then. Share my entire screen and let's go here. Tell me if you're able to see it now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So, like I mentioned, my name is Anthony Wanyogi. I am a tenured, experienced. I don't know what to actually say because I wear many hats. I've worn many hats over a long time. I might look young, a little bit young, but I promise I'm not that young. So I have about 10 plus years in the tech industry. And through that period, I started as a system admin, which transitioned into DevOps, SRE, became a cloud engineer, and software engineer has always been a thing, and I held a role at some point being a software engineer. So I wear many hats, so I'm not quite sure how I should describe myself, but when my friends describe me, they describe me as a Swiss Army knife, right? And so that's who I am. So I'm currently based in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. Been here for close to an year now, but I've been around the globe and working for different companies, tech companies. Happy to link up with you on LinkedIn anytime. But to today's session, I'll be speaking about AWS DevOps Agent and what it does for us as SRE engineers, DevOps engineer, platform engineers as well. So let's see what it has to offer. So the AWS DevOps agent is advertised as an always available operations teammate. It's agentic in nature. And as you'd assume, in this AI phase that we are in technology, a lot of AI solutions are coming towards us. And I know being engineers, we have tried to put together solutions to improve ops mostly. And a lot of them, and this is my own experiences, normally would fall short when it comes to scaling, right? So let's take a step back. Let's think about how we got here, and let's take a step back in the sense of where have we come from in terms of AI and AI technology. So when OpenAI dropped its first popular offering of AI to everyone to be accessible, basically it was a chatbot, basically, right? Where you prompt it for something, it comes back and, go back and forth. It answers your question. If it's something that you need done, you have to prompt it. Obviously, it suggests something for you, and then you're able to, you yourself have to go on and actually execute what you get from AI. But then fast forward to now 2026, we're in the agentic space where now we are allowing AI agents to be able to take a goal, right? And using that goal, they are able to autonomously go and figure out how to deliver on that goal. So we become more of experts that know what needs to be achieved. We don't need to do it ourselves, but we can hand off that to an agent, and the agent would autonomously be able to reach that goal, or they help us reach that goal. So that's just, and that's a high level of how far we've come in the last 2 years, and technology is moving fast. All right, okay. So as DevOps and SRE, as platform engineers, we've seen a lot of change in the industry, right? And before I go too far, I should actually also mention that if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me at any time because I'm not seeing the screen. Please just speak up and I should be able to answer your question, or you can write it in the chat and I'll pause at some point and do FAQs at the end. I spoke a bit too much. I didn't introduce what the agenda is today in a sense, how we're going to go through the whole 1 hour. We have 1 hour session. So we're going to look at industry challenges that the DevOps agent tries to solve, right? We look at the agent itself, its capability. I'll also speak briefly about the AWS security agents, right? Because security goes hand in hand with whatever technology that you are using or you're trying to implement, right? And then we'll do a quick demo and then show you how to get started. And then we'll take some questions at the end of that. So in the industry right now, what we've seen as the biggest challenge, or what has traditionally been the biggest challenge, is having a lot of our tooling spread across multiple people, teams, or siloed expertise, right? So if you think about it, think about a normal DevOps engineer journey. When they start off, they have to be onboarded to tools that could be GitLab, GitHub, Splunk, Datadog, ServiceNow, and this and that, right? So before they become expert at one thing, they take a lot of time to do that. And the engineers that have become really experts on those things, they can only be very, very deep in one area. I mean, we are very good at our jobs most of the time, but also we are human. We have limitations. And limitation meaning that if we don't use a technology for too long, if we don't use a tool for too long, then we sort of fall behind on what evolves in that tooling or in that technology. So that's a challenge that a lot of DevOps engineers and platform teams normally have, that they have siloed skills within their teams, or just within yourself, you're only skilled for only a handful of tools that you only use, right? But then you have blind spots for tools that you don't use. And then that makes a lot of our incidents response become more of a firefighting scenario. So for example, if you have a production down a scenario in enterprise, for example, a lot of the time you'll see teams having to create war rooms where they have to bring all of these people with different skills that own different tooling or different parts of the platform to be able to even just get them to a room and even try to get to a root cause analysis and finally implementing a fix. That is a lot of friction that we've seen, right? So those are the challenges that from a personal perspective and just talking to industry peers, that's the problem that we see a lot, right? But also that's a problem that now in the agentic space, that's something that we can close the gap quite quickly. And how do we do that? So the AWS DevOps agent is always on DevOps engineer, if you'd like to think of it that way. So that means it never goes to sleep. It's not like you wouldn't be woken up at the middle of the night or call a teammate at the middle of the night or who's across the world. It's always on because it's an agent that needs to only be triggered with the right context, and then it will go out and try to firefight for you, if I might say so. And not only does it help you when you're in a firefighting situation or where you have an incident happening, we want to move the needle. We don't want to be in a firefighting state all the time. Most of us would love to have a peaceful night's sleep, knowing that we've taken care of all the backlog items that we should have taken care of, right? Or at least the ones that we don't know about are something that we are about to take care of. So proactiveness is also something that the DevOps agent brings. So that means it looks over the past incidences that you have and all the context that you provided, that is your pipeline, your code repository, your infrastructure. And from all of that, it's able to pick gaps based on AWS best practices or DevOps best practices. And it's able to suggest recommendation that can go back to your backlog as tech debt that you need to fix for you to be in a place where you don't firefight. Okay, and then ultimately there's a third aspect, which is the capability of it that allows you to be able to interact with it as a peer, right? And this is what they call the on-demand SRE. So their on-demand SRE is nothing more than a chat tool that you can interact with the agent, but the benefit of this is that you've provided it with all the context that you have, right? All the infrastructure context, all your code repository, including all your runbooks for firefighting or for incident management and responsory, and it's able to answer that to you directly. Otherwise, you would want to probably speak to a teammate and this and that. With this, on-demand information is provided to you as you go. And I'll be able to show you this in the demo. And I'm going to pause there for just a quick moment to hear if there are any questions so far. Any questions?
There is no question, but I see a remark. Oh, I see a remark first. Let's go through it. Cosmin has made a good remark, saying that from just executing some task and deliver some code, we become more like architects that are closer and closer to the business. That is what AI achieved in the past year. So I believe, yeah, I agree with that. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Right. That's and I like that. So now, and that's true. We stop being very tactical in terms of the value that we deliver to any type of business, and we become more strategic with the business. So we start to think about not how we are going to solve a production down issue. We start to think about what value we can add to the business from our from a technical perspective, or just think with the business and provide value to it. So I 100% agree with that. And if I may move on.
We have one question actually
Yes.
from Niche.
Yep.
You can open your mic, but I can also speak that up. It's but isn't AWS DevOps agent is costly? So it starts counting money when an incident occurs. It would also trigger even for the false positives. So yeah, that's false positive is really of a concern. I would also raise for. What do you say on that one?
That's a very good question, and I'll speak. I have a slide at the end just to speak about on the cost itself. I can tell you right now, it's not expensive. I have tried it myself, and actually there is a free trial that you can. I would actually encourage you to try and throw a problem to it and see. You have a lot of credits in there where you can run the agent for it to investigate, and you'll see whether it's expensive. Because expensive, again, it's relative, but I'll be able to share some amounts, how much it costs, and also some scenario, and also would recommend that you do the free tier and see how much it costs. There's also a lot of credits that you get, at least in the moment. But yes, the question, I think the key question here is the false positives, right? So the false positives that you get that trigger an investigation would be, even if we threw away the DevOps agent, would be the same false positive that would wake you up at night, right? So then that is just a symptom of bad, well, maybe bad is a harsh word, but an underlying symptom on the way we are doing our monitoring, right? So if you have, say, alarms set up that are always saying that there is a problem where a problem doesn't exist, then I would, and this is a very shallow answer, but I would start from, have we set the right threshold for an incident to be triggered or for an alarm to go off, right? So false positives exist, and they exist with or without any AI tooling. So if they're there, so the first place you would want to start is reviewing how you've set up your monitoring, right? But even if you have the DevOps agent, so one of the things that it has, so again, it's agentic, so it's able to recognize when an alarm is triggered, for example, or when an investigation is triggered, and the root cause becomes a false positive, right? So it has this learning that it has, and then so that will go into a recommendation. So it will tell you the last three investigations have ended up being false positives. So what you need to do is check on the trigger that triggered this investigation and adjust it. And if you provide enough context, it can tell you the right adjustments to make.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can also actually not investigate a repeated. For example, if you have false positives that are back-to-back, say incidences that are happening all the time, it can couple all of them into one, just do one investigation for them, and then recommend for you a fix for it. But go on, I hear some, I think there's a question or a follow-up.
No, exactly. I think this was the only question, but I would like to add something over here. So, with my experience, right, I have been doing ops all the time. So even human have get false positive, right, and it's really hard for us to also recognize all the patterns. So we started doing machine learning way before current implementations, right, and yeah, machine are better at learning for sure. They can remember the whole database and crawl faster. So it's similar to what human have, but way cheaper if you compare to the mistakes we could do. So we can make us more powerful, like more empowered. Like one ops can have more knowledge than actually he can achieve, right, and in faster pace. So that's the idea, right?
Yes, 100%. So yeah, so false positives are not bad. And to your point, Bishop, is if those were problems that you would handle as a human, it would take you a long time to do that. So even if they surface and you're using the AWS DevOps agent, then that's actually a good thing, because it would be able to pick up that it's a false positive and tell you how to remediate that problem. So it's an underlying problem with our monitoring or something else, somewhere else, but then we're able to pick that up, or it's able to pick that up faster than you would, and able to help you do a remediation, right? So it's only a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. If anyone has any opinion, or we can move on it. It was really nice discussion, I would say.
I think Mark has a question. Mark is raising his hand.
Oh,
Hi,
okay. I
hi,
can see it. Hey, Mark.
hi there. My question is, I have a few questions, but the one that most applies at the moment is, what have you had a chance to compare AWS DevOps agent with other competitors, or maybe another way to look at the question is, in what specific use cases would you use AWS DevOps agents rather than another product, another agentic AI product?
So it depends, and thanks, Mark, for that question. Good question, actually, good call out. The one that relates, I want to answer it this way. So what I've had a lot of people ask me is, why would I use a DevOps agent if I can actually put together my own solution that the DevOps agent does, right? Because that's also a solution, right? So the answer to that is, number one, and I can't think of an equal competitor to the DevOps agent. And if you have one, please let me know. But the thing here is, number one, depends on a use case. So, for example, if you're AWS customer, that will be basically like your go-to, because it's native to AWS, because it learns AWS infrastructure, best practices and all of this that much better. It's actually trained on that, right? Much better. That aside, but that is not the only use case for it, because it's still agentic. It has integrations, and I'll show you this later. It has integration with, for example, Azure DevOps in itself. It has integration with Splunk, Datadog, ServiceNow, and more as they come. Integration with GitHub, GitLab, and all of that. So it's not a traditional service that you think of, in a sense, an AWS service. It's a solution that is dynamic in a way. You can even bring on your own MCPs, for example. You can even create custom skills. I won't go too deep into that. I'll just touch at a very high level. But when it comes to comparison, this versus this, it would be tough for me to say. But if you were to put together your own solution, the only, not the only thing, but what the AWS DevOps does for you is that it manages, obviously it's a managed service, so you do not need to worry about switching, for example, the model behind it. You don't have to worry about scaling. You don't need to worry about maintaining it and all of that. All you need to do is provide your application workload context, maybe steering into, or your runbooks, for example, for incident management, and then it does all the jobs. So basically, it makes ops easier for you. Can this be done by other tools? Yes, of course, can be done by other tools. Is it comparable apple to apples? Maybe not exactly, but then you pick depending on your use case, right? So the use case that I've seen for most teams is the ones that are native to AWS. That's very easy because it's a very quick integration. And the ones that are using other clouds like Azure, it's also an integration that is very native. And also the teams that are in using maybe toolings that are not even natively integrated, they create their own MCP, or at least the toolings that they use already have MCP as interfaces with the DevOps agent. Mark, I think I've used so many words to answer your question, but it depends. I hope I've done it justice.
No, it's great. Thank you. It was a broad question in any case, but thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Being conscious of time, I just want to move a bit quicker, and then we'll save a few of the questions for a bit later. So because we have to jump into a demo at some point. So the three main capabilities, like I mentioned, for the DevOps agent is incident response, and that's probably the most quickest way you can see results from the DevOps agent. So provide all the context integration, and then let it go to work and find the root cause and do a remediation plan for you. Incident prevention takes a bit of time. It has to learn your workloads, infrastructure, and everything, so that it suggests recommendation based on everything it knows about your application or your workloads or your infrastructure. And now it's able to do recommendation on demand. Like I mentioned, you can interact with it with all the knowledge that it has. It's able to answer questions to you immediately. And this goes down the road for each and every one of them. So if autonomous incident response, so you have how it works. So an event happens, that's an alarm, for example. It could be a ServiceNow ticket that from your monitoring tools. It could be any event that alerts the DevOps agent. So basically, if we are to go down a level, is an invocation with a payload saying there's a problem that has happened and this is what happened at this time, please investigate. And then it would do context gathering with everything that you provided it, and then everything that it's learned, and then it would do a root cause analysis. You will see this in working, and then develop a mitigation plan for you, right? And for what the industry is saying, at least there is 75% lower mean time to recovery and 94% root cause accuracy. Again, it's agentic, it's non-deterministic, so you're not gonna get 100% all the time. It gets close, but it gets you there faster, and it gets the blast radius is smaller, for lack of a better word. Prevention, again, on-demand prevention and on-demand SRE is recommendation based on everything it knows. Runs every it's a 7 to 30 days window. All of that data based on the incidences or any changes, it's able to tell you there might be gaps that might develop into incidences in the future. This is very key because we move away from being shocked or alarmed alarmed by an incident happening in production, and we move more towards being proactive, that we see around the corners, we see there's a problem that might happen, so we take care of it. So that's the value of that. And again, on-demand SRE, it just closes the gap on that siloed skill, even among ourselves as engineers. We, like I mentioned earlier, we can only know so much. So this closes the gap. If you're not very good, for example, doing tracing, right? You do not have to do that for you to do your job. So you have, you know, a partner and a teammate that can help you with that. You can just chat with it, has all the context, has more context than you probably would have. And yeah, so like I mentioned, so again, an event has to happen that triggers that, and then there's a fan out of the agents for different type of things. So a triage, an RCA, and so on and so forth. And then, like I mentioned, there are native integrations with third-party tools. So think of the big ones that we use as platform engineers: Datadog, Dynatrace, Splunk, GitHub, GitLab, Slack, ServiceNow. I want to mention Slack. Slack is actually quite interesting. I found this to be very useful in scenarios where, so the Slack integration is basically communication. So once a trigger happens, or because then as an incident it's 7 o'clock. Sorry, when a trigger happens, when something happens in say production, then the agents is kicked off and it starts to investigate. It actually, with this integration with Slack, it starts to put the investigation notes in your Slack channel. For example, if you think about it, when you're at work, all your DevOps engineer that take care of a particular workload, you can target the agent to send the investigation over there. So when you're being maybe paged or woken up at night, or you're in a situation where you're trying to figure out what's happening, when you go look at your Slack, everything, the investigation has already started and everything is there, right there for you to see. And that's how the mean time to recovery, happens, right? So you're able to get there faster. And we'll see that in working in a few minutes from now. Yeah, so the other thing so it's, again, it's a product that is evolving. It's they're adding more and more capabilities to it. So there's skills for us. I know all of us here have at least tried out coding agents like Claude Code. There's an AWS one, Kiro, as well. I forget the other ones, but if you Codex and all of that. So if you've used those before and you like to write your own skills in MD files and things like that, so this also allows you to do that. And in a sense where, for example, you have a run book on how you investigate a certain type of incident. Let's say a DB, maybe a DB lock, maybe this is not the best example, but maybe a DB lock happens in production and now all the connections, or maybe you max out on connection, something like that. So, but there is a particular way in your organization, or you as an engineer like to go about investigating. So you probably, first of all, you look at certain metrics, and then after those metrics, you correlate from these other metrics, and then you put those together in a time frame, and then you come to a conclusion. So you can either use the default mode where you allow the agent to do its own thing and decide how to get to the root cause, right? Or you can provide your way of working, which is what we call runbooks, and as a skill, and then you're able to steer it in a direction that you would normally handle it as a human, okay? And again, code indexing, it's able to read through your code, and this, I've seen this in practice. So, for example, a certain developer introduces a change into production that brings down something or causes some interruptions.
Hey, yes. Sorry to interrupt you. We have a question, but
Yes,
from Mike, right? Hey, greetings from Friends DevOps SRE in bank sector. Will we have some real life demo scenario in this session? So we are having it, right, in certain moment. Just to let you know.
Yep. And that's an interesting use case for banking sector of or FSI, financial services industry. So yeah, that's about what it can do. Someone asked about pricing. This is the slide that I had on pricing. So for pricing, you're charged 0.0083 per second, right, of the time that the investigation takes, or the time it takes for the agent to talk to you when you're doing on-demand SRE, and that's how it charges you. However, from a personal perspective, if you want to try it out, so there is a free trial that you can use, and I'll share this information at the end of this, or it will be shared via email for everyone that attended here, so you can actually use that to try out. What I've seen, right, is if you run an investigation, I haven't seen even an EKS investigation, I haven't seen an investigation that has taken longer than 8 minutes. And this is from my own personal experience, right? But it could actually take longer. So depending on how complex the incidences, how much data you fed into it, then the duration of your usage is what is charged. But at the moment, all enterprise customers for AWS get credits back, right? A lot of them that are using it are basically using it for free, right? So if you'd like to know more, please go to the pricing page for the DevOps agent. Actually try out the free trial for it. Run as many complex situations as you might run for your specific use case, for you to get an idea of how much it would cost you. So for example, this is how you do the calculation. How many incidences do you have to investigate every day? How many of those do you have to investigate in a whole month? Then calculate how much time it takes to do that investigation, multiply by this, see how much it costs, and see how, whether that's expensive for you or it's not. So it really depends, but the pricing is what it is. At least in the beginning, you will get enough credits for you to figure out whether this is something that adds value from a cost perspective, or it adds value from your time perspective to get to a resolution, right? Because when we look at cost, and I don't want to go too deep into this, when you look at cost, so if say the DevOps agent costs you X amount of money, but also it saves your production from being down for an hour, which would cost you X amount of money, then if you do the math, you get what I'm saying. So it depends really on the situation, but try it out. Use the free tier. Try to put it to the task and see how much it would cost you versus what the benefit you get from it. And I'll stop at that for pricing, because we're not here to market, to do any marketing at all. So from the industry, what have we seen? Mean time to recovery, 75%, at least from the data that is collected so far. 80% faster investigation, right? And the accuracy at 94%, right? So you're basically speeding up all the human processes that you're doing before, because this is an agent, this is the computer. Computers are better than human at working, so they do it much better than you. So you get more bang for the same amount of input that you put in. So many different types of integration to bring it closer to our developers. We are DevOps engineers, platform engineers. We work with our developers are our customers. So we do not want to collide heads with them all the time. For them to introduce things late, for us to discover things later in the process. We want to shift left a little bit. So if we have MCPs, that is, it comes with an MCP. It has integrations with the IDEs like Kiro, for example. So you can provide it to developers such that it's able to evaluate the changes that they are about to put into production, whether it might actually bring an issue, right? So that's good to know for us when you're working with developers, and some of us are developers as well. And let me pause there and ask whether we have any question, because we're about to jump into the demo really quickly.
We do have one question actually from Rishabh. So Rishabh says, "Do you want to speak yourself, Rishabh?" Or yeah. Can we build such a DevOps agent? Ours, it was for community. I see some answers there, but it's for you as well to answer maybe. So can we build such a DevOps agent ourselves and bypass paying AWS by directly using popular tools like Claude Code and OpenClaw? So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a question.
yeah. Simple answer is yes. You can 100% do that, right? You can probably even do very close, custom, bespoke implementation for you, for yourself, than maybe other tools. But yes, so you can do that. So that's the answer.
Yeah,
However, do you really want to do that? Because once you build a solution, then what comes with building a solution? Maintenance, right? You have to support it. You have to keep it up to date. You have to manage infrastructure, scaling, and all of those things. So what we call undifferentiated heavy lifting, you're putting it on your team. This is a tool that's supposed to help you and your team, but then you and your team has to support that tool again. So that's what it actually takes away from you. So instead of you trying to cook together a solution, there's a ready solution that you can modify with skills, for example, with MCP, with custom agents and all of that, but
yeah.
it's managed.
So you
That's
can say it's a SaaS, right? Like the old
exactly.
era SaaS, PaaS, EaaS. So this is kind of SaaS layer already.
Yeah, I like that analogy. Yeah, it's like saying, and this is maybe a bad example. It's like, could you build your own SAP instead of using SAP? Yeah, of course you can, right? But then you have to do all of the building yourself, right? But that's the main thing. The value proposition is taking the headache away from you. You just get the value out of it. Okay, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think yeah, we can move on. Looking at time, we have 20 minutes. So
Okay, yeah, very quickly. So there's one thing I wanted to mention, this very highlight. There's also another different agent, and I think AWS will combine all these agents under one umbrella. I am not sure, but it would be nice for it. There's a security agent. Security is always priority number one. Works more or less the same in terms of what I've talked about. The DevOps agent works more or less the same, but this is for security. So think about pen testing, for example, right? Think about bringing security left for developers and things like that. So this is what looking into. I won't speak about it because it's also important. DevOps and security goes hand in hand. You cannot deploy anything in production if it's not secure. So this complements the DevOps agent as well. So it's something nice to look at. And I'll just jump right into the demo. If you're able to still see my screen, are you still able to see my screen?
yep.
Okay, good. And now I can actually see all of you. So I have a very, this is AWS specific. So I have what we call a DevOps agent space, and I won't go too deep into it. So a DevOps agent space is a logical boundary for your workloads or application. Think of it, maybe you're creating one agent that looks at a certain application or a group of application or a whole workload. So mine is looking at this, and I'll give a very high overview of yep. Okay, where is the architecture? Oh, yeah. So I have a very simple Lambda. So I have a Lambda that, let's say, for lack of a better word, just writes to a DynamoDB. So this is the architecture, and if you can see it, so we have some cloud event that goes into a Lambda, and yeah, that puts some records into a DynamoDB. It has some monitoring on it. There's some alarms as well that are just making sure that we don't, for example, max out on the writes and things like that. So this let's assume this is my application, right? And I'm rushing here because of time. So I created an agent space for the DevOps agent, right? That is able to detect or investigate issues that happen in my setup, in my arc, in my workload. Very quickly, so the way I set this up, it can have different capabilities. Like I have here, everything that I spoke about, you can integrate with Azure Cloud, Azure DevOps, and Dynatrace, and all of this. So all of this is just to provide it with as enough context as possible, right? So I simulated an incident in my setup, and that caused an alarm to go off, one of my alarms to go off. And I'll show you that just now. So as you can see, I have one alarm here called DynamoDB write throttle alarm. You can see this is in alarm state, right? So ideally, once it goes into alarm, part of the action, so the trigger here, it goes into alarm, and part of the action here is for it to trigger an investigation in the DevOps agent. I'm skipping, I know I'm moving very fast, so bear with me. This is the DevOps agent operator access. So this is like your AWS console, or a console where you can see your DevOps agent that you've created for a particular workload. So as you can see here, I can chat with it. That's the on-demand SRE. But the more important thing, when there is something that has happened, I go here to the incidences, and you can see there's an investigation that happened. I hope you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Are you able to see what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, all right. So you can see an investigation was started here, and it gives the description of the investigation, right? So I'll investigate, and it starts to leave a log of everything that is happening. The key thing for you here to understand is you will see that it will start to do the context gathering, right? So it will figure out what you told it. It will look at everything that it knows, retrieve the table that had a problem, and then look at all the logs, correlate with other CloudWatch metrics, right? And then see what the number of writes that were happening, and all of this it's doing on its own, right? And again, I'll show you just in a moment how it's able to know where to check all of this, because it's intelligent, or you provided enough context. At the end of all of this, you'll go and you will be able to see the root cause analysis, right? Okay. So for this particular one, I can see that the root cause analysis is that there was a manual update for the max write request unit from 400 to 2, and that caused a throttling effect in DynamoDB. And you can go ahead and generate a mitigation plan. So the DevOps agent is read only for now. It does not take any action for you, and that is built in, at least for the moment, to keep things from happening without your knowledge. So you generate the mitigation plan, and then you can apply the changes, or at least you can do some automation to implement the changes. What I wanted to show you here, so I've clicked here on the left where it says topology, is what I wanted to show you what it knows about my infrastructure and my application. As you can see, it has put together a topology of my infrastructure and how it's all connected, right? So if you see, so for example, something happens, an alarm goes off, it would know, well, the alarm is not really interesting. Let's see like this. Oh yeah, say like something happens here, then it would know how that's related to what, and it's be able to know how everything is correlated to each other. And this is just the simple version of the land topology. But in the backside, you can see how it looks like. The correlation, the relationships are just extreme. It's something that a human wouldn't be able to relate to. And I know a lot of you know this, especially if you work with solutions architects or you also architecture things. Sometimes you architecture things, you have no idea how anything is related to anything. So this is what I was speaking about, not having the overhead to put everything here or put them down everywhere. Have a single place that knows everything about your particular product or solution or workload. All right. I know I've gone very quickly. There are many things. So, for example, the proactive nature of it, the improvement, for example, the false positives, you would go here to improvement. Based on the incidences that you've ran, you would be able to find them here. And this can go back into your backlog and say, oh, there's a particular trigger that always keeps triggering, but the investigation is always a false positive. So you can go and fix that. All right. So that in a nutshell is what the DevOps agent is, and I hope I've been able to demonstrate to you how it can add value to your day in, day out work, right? At least worth a try to test it and see if it can be valuable for you, your own personal working or your own organization, right? I'm gonna pause there and take questions because I know there's a lot that I've shared.
Yeah, I have one question. Can you just tell me like how much time it takes for the incident that you just showed?
Yep, you can see here it happened within, let's see. Yeah, so it started, yeah, 2 minutes for this particular one. 2 minutes, 2 seconds. But the answer is, again, it depends on the investigation. The most complex investigation I've seen has not taken more than 10 minutes. And this was an NEKS pod issue. But please, by all means, stress test it. Actually, so this is how I've seen other colleagues or peers from our own industry do it, right? Is think of an incident that happened once, that one that you would remember, that was so complex, that brought a lot of people together, and you had to struggle. If you can reproduce such a scenario, give that problem to the DevOps agent, see how much time it takes, and if it gets anywhere close to the real resolution and root cause. Okay. How are we doing on time?
We have 9 minutes left.
Okay, we have plenty of time. So yeah, happy to go through other questions and other features, especially on. Sorry, do we have any questions on the chat?
Yeah, we have one from Mark right now. So Mark, you can open your mic as well. So it's
okay. So you showed. Sorry, I had a typo there. So you showed us the really convoluted diagram before, and I was wondering, apart from that, are there any governance-related features in that the product offers to facilitate traceability of agentic actions taken?
So first of all, the way it's set up right now, like I mentioned, it's read only, so it does not take any actions rather. However, it does source for data from the different places from say CloudWatch in this sense. So there is a role associated with the DevOps agent, just like any other native AWS service communicating with any other service, right? And for that, you would need to oh yeah, the role doesn't show here just because of privacy. But anyway, it does have a role that you can use to provide as much permission or as less permission as you would like, right? And all of it should be read only, to be honest. But also then you fall into a layer of the native AWS traceability. So we're talking about CloudWatch. If you have SCPs, for example, that deny things and that. So it falls right into the AWS way of doing things, right? I don't know whether that answers the question or if I'm off the track in where you're going with this question, Mark.
No, you mentioned that it's read only, so that already answers the question in some way.
Yeah. So it does not take any action. The only thing it does is get all the logs to get the context for that particular incident, and then use the information to do inference and come build together a case for the root cause analysis and generate a mitigation plan, and that's it. It doesn't take any action. It doesn't try go change anything in your infra, or even if you provided, for example, custom MCPs that can actually take action, it wouldn't still take action.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I do have one remark, a quick one, or remark, or question, whatever you say. It's mix of both of them. So, as far as I know, so AWS used AWS Agent Core itself to develop this agent. So its own core framework to develop the agent, the frontier agent, or this agents that we are using here. So anything short about that? Because do you know how it was built? Any architecture behind it?
Yeah, I think I'll try and find the architecture diagram that is publicly available, but you're spot on in the sense that, yeah, it's just built on AWS agent, Bedrock agent, AWS agent, Bedrock agent core, right? It's the same, well, the same architecture. So the same
Principles.
fan out architecture that you'd have, where you have the orchestrator agent that receives the problem and then fan out to specialized agent for traceability, for correlating or getting the data, and then putting together the solution, and then an agent that spits out the investigation, RCA, and the final remediation plan. So yes, it's the same architecture under the hood. I don't know too much about the actual way they put together, but the architecture, I know it's the same.
Cool. So yeah, that was my remark plus question both together. If thank you for answering it. Do you have any more questions from the community? Please open your mic or put in chat. I don't have anything yet. I see Nits B saying, I think Convo Ops is very cheaper compared to this. So yes, there are, I think, multiple tools around it, right? As we discussed multiple time, which can be cheaper, and so it depends on your use case and also where your infra lies, where what you are solving. So
That's 100%. Really depends on on what you're trying to solve for. Just the same way we choose our tooling for different things, for logging, monitoring, it will depend on your particular use case. So yes.
cool. I see one hand raised from Emeka. Emeka, please open your mic.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Anthony, for the presentation. I would like to know, like, so do you have like free tiers for someone who want to like try this out on for like learning purposes? Do AWS have such kind of subscription, like a credit-based unit?
Yeah, so there's a there's a free tier version of it. I think I don't have the details right now, but I'll share that with Vishwas. You can send. I don't know whether you have a mailing group. We can send all this information later. But yes, there is for you to try out on your own, for your own personal use, and just try it out. Yes, so you can do that. If you're talking from an organization point of view, an enterprise point of view that uses AWS, would already have the free credits available to them to try it out.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. We can chat about it later.
All right, Tim. I think that was very, very engaging. I am in the Netherlands right now. It's very, very hot. I think it's the hottest day, yeah, so far. Yeah, but you guys are pretty cool, so you've made me sail through. So I hope this has been valuable to the community, and I'm more than happy to come again if I have anything interesting to tell you. But I hope this has been of value to you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much. It was really insightful for me, for sure. I learned a lot. And I hope I see the same response from everywhere. So thank you in the chat and all. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure hosting you, and thank you being part of our community for a while and sharing your knowledge. Thank you, Anthony.
Bye,
Let's
bye, bye, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.
All right.
Nice
Bye.
weekend.
Stay hydrated.
hey, stay hydrated. Bye bye. If you want to stay and hang around and ask any question to me, because it's also fine about the community. Oh, I say we are all leaving. So let's wrap it up. Have a great evening, everyone.
All right then. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hey, bye bye, Victor.